Hi everyone, I'm back with chapter 3. So let's get started. Vincent had said this was a feast to welcome travelers to the House of Nine ahead of the start of the Kijari. But that was an understatement. The event wasn't a feast so much as it was a display of shameless, exuberant gluttony. Well, that was fitting, wasn't it? The Kachari only happened once every 100 years, and hosting it was the House of Knight's greatest honor. During the tournament, Sivinraj welcomed guests from every corner of Obritis, including all three houses. It was an important diplomatic event, especially for nobles from the House of Night and House of Shadow. No one was quite as eager for a visit from the House of Blood. There was a reason why none of the Bloodborn had been invited to this event, but Vincent would never pass an opportunity to peacock before the rest of Vampire High Society. I came to this part of the castle so rarely that I had forgotten just how striking it was. The ceiling was a high dome of stained glass, gold-dyed stars scattered across cerulean blue. The moonlight spilling through it danced over the crowds in whirls. Half a dozen long tables had been set, now holding only the remnants of what had certainly hours ago been an incredible banquet. Vampires enjoyed all forms of food for pleasure, though blood, human, vampire, or animal was necessary for their survival. The food sat still, long cold on the table, while the blood dotted the plates, tablecloth, in dribbles and spatters of dying crimson. I thought of the wounds on Ilana's throat and wrists and wondered which stains were hers. Everyone already ate. Vincent offered me his arm, and I took it. He put me between himself and the wall. Everything about his demeanor was coolly casual. But I knew this was very intentional decision, the arm and my placement. The former reminded the rest of the room that I was his daughter. The latter physically protected me from anyone who might, in bloodlust, make an impulsive decision they'd regret. Vincent didn't usually allow me these types of events for obvious reasons. He and I both understood that a human in a ballroom of hungry vampires. He and I both understood that a human in a ballroom of hungry vampires was a bad idea for everyone involved. On the rare occasions that I did go out into vampiric society, I attracted flagrant attention. Today was no exception. It fell to him as he entered, and then they shifted to me. My jaw locked and muscles stiffened. Everything about that felt wrong. To be so visible and to threats to watch. With dinner done, most had moved to the dance floor. 100 or so guests smiling about the dance floor or gossiping as they sipped glasses of red wine or blood. I recognized the familiar faces of Vincent's court, but there were also plenty of foreigners. Those from the House of Shadow wore heavy, tight-fitting clothing. The women adorned in corsets and clingy velvety gowns. The men donned in stiff, minimalist jackets, all very different from the House of Knight's flowing silks. I also saw a few unfamiliar faces from the House of Knights outer reaches, people who lived not in the inner city but perhaps lorded over districts far to the west of the deserts, or in the House of Knights island territories in the Boom Seas. I've been watching for bandages. Vincent ducked his head and spoke quietly to me, low enough that no one ever else could hear. Some have already made their blood gift to Nyaxia to signal their entry into the Kajari, my opponents. Lord Ravindra. He nodded to the ashy-haired man locked in enthusiastic conversation across the ballroom. During one of his gesticulations, I caught a flash of white on his hand, black-red soaked fabric covering a wound. I fought with him long ago. His right knee is bad, he hides it well, but it pains him greatly. I nodded and carefully filed this information away as Vincent continued to take me around the room. Maybe to someone who wasn't paying attention, we might have looked like we were just taking a leisurely walk. But with every step, he pointed out other contestants telling me all he knew about their background or weaknesses. A slight, fair-haired, shadow-born woman with sharp features. Kiretta Tan. I met her long ago. She's a weak swordsman but a strong magician. Guard your thoughts around her. A thick, tall man whose eyes had immediately found me the moment we had entered the room. Byron Imanji, the world's worst bloodlust I've ever seen. Vincent's lips curled in disgust. He'll go after you, but he will be so stupid about it that it should be easy for you to kill them. We finished one lap around the ballroom and started another. I saw a few others. Ibrahim came. And Ibrahim? Vincent's brow twitched. Many will enter the Kajari solely because they feel they have no other option. I found Ibrahim across the room. He was a young vampire, barely older than I am, with an unusually meek demeanor. As if he could feel my stare, his gaze flicked to me from beneath a mop of curly black hair. He gave me a weak smile, revealing mutilated gums, jarringly absent of canine teeth. Besides him was his mother, a woman as brutally aggressive as his son who was quiet, and the source of his wounds. It was a story too common and tragic. About 10 years ago, when Ibrahim was on the cusp of adulthood, his parents had pinned him down, removed his teeth, and hobbled his left leg. I had been 13 or so when it happened. Ibrahim's face has been a mess of soul and bruises, flesh. Unrecognizable. I had been horrified and I didn't understand why Vincent wasn't. What I didn't realize then was that vampires live in constant fear of their own family. Immortality was made succession a bloody, bloody business. Even Vincent had murdered his parents and 3 siblings to gain his title. Vampires killed their parents for power and then crippled their own children to keep them from doing the same. It satisfied their egos in the present and secured the future. Their line would continue, but not a moment before they were ready for it. At least the Kajari would give him, Ibrahim, a chance to regain his dignity or die trying. Still, he can't possibly think he could win, I muttered. Vincent gave me a sidelong glance. Everyone here probably thinks the same of you. He wasn't wrong. An overwhelming cloud of lilac scent wafted over us. There you are, sire. You had disappeared. I had been starting to get concerned. Vincent and I turned. Jasmine approached us, carefully tossing a wave of smooth ash brown hair over her bare shoulder. She wore a rich red gown, while Simple clung to her lush shape of her body. She, unlike most of the Hayaj here, left her wings visible. They were slate grey, and a gown dipped low enough in the back to frame them with a faintly drape of crimson. The dress was deep cut to reveal generous cleavage and a mottled white scar that ran up center of her sternum. She was never shy about displaying it either, her cleavage or the star. Not that I could blame her. Her cleavage was objectively impressive. And as for the scar, rumor had it she survived the staking. If I'd done that, I'd flaunt the mark every damn day. The corner of Vincent's mouth worked. The work never ends, as you know. Jasmine raised her crimson glass. I do indeed, she purred. Oh, son, fucking take me. I didn't know how I felt about Vincent's newly promoted head of the guard. It was rare for a woman to achieve such a rank in the House of Knight. Only 3 women had served in that position in the last 1,000 years, and I approved of that on a principle alone. But I also had been trained my entire life to be distrustful. Vincent's previous head of the guard had been scraggly, scar-riddled man named Tyon, who had served for 200 years. I didn't like him, but at least I knew he was loyal. But when Tyon grew ill and eventually died, his top general, Jasmine, had been the natural choice to replace him. I didn't have anything against her, but I didn't know her, and I certainly didn't trust her. Maybe I was just territorial. Vincent seemed to like her. He leaned closer. You look lovely, he murmured to her. Really like her. Despite myself, a hint of my scops slipped from her lips. At the sound Jasmine's amethyst eyes slipped to me. She was new enough that she still regarded me with blatant curiosity rather than that somewhat long suffering annoyance of the other members of Vincent's tiny inner circle. Her gaze slowly moved up my body, taking in my stature and my leathers, drinking in each feature of my face. If I didn't know any better, I'd think she was being lecherous, which would be, well, flattering if it wasn't so often a precursor to an attempt on my throat. Good evening, Mariah. Hello, Jasmine. Her nostrils flared. A subtle movement, but I saw it immediately. I stepped back, my hand moving to my dagger. Vincent noticed it too, and ever so slightly shifted to put his body between mine and hers.